Hi guys, in today's tutorial we are going to be looking at the difference between and and her. In previous tutorials we already looked at this. And this concept is very important because sometimes you want to think and is the same thing with her, or maybe you get confused when you are to choose which one to use to meet your requirements. So we are going to look at that. Difference between and and her. So let me do a quick selector from employees. Quick selector from employees. So we have 1000 records and we have all these columns. So let's say I have a requirement. I'll make some space here. So let's say I have a requirement that says return employee ID. Return employee ID, first name, and department. So we want to return employee ID, first name, and department of those working in maybe tools and tools and clothing departments. So let me bring this down. So we have these requirements. We should create a report that shows employee ID, first name, department of those employees working in tools and clothing department. So if you see this kind of requirement, what comes to mind? So I think the first thing that comes to mind is to want to write this query like this. So what are the columns we are returning? That's employee ID, first name, and department from employees. Okay. Now, what's the condition we have of those working in tools and clothing department? So we only want to see those employees working in tools and those working in clothing. So what comes to mind is to say where departments, because now we are filtering with department column. We are filtering with this column. So we only want to see those working in tools and clothing. So where department equals tools and department equals clothing. Now let's run this and see what we have. Okay, this returns zero records. This does not return anything. So what it means is that this query is fine because it runs, but it's not returning any record. And what that means is I can't find anywhere in this table where department equals tools and at the same time department equals clothing. It can't find it. So how do we meet these requirements? Now let me copy this query and put it down here. and I'm going to remove this to make space. So this, I'm going to change this to all. I want you to take time to look at these two queries. The only difference between these two queries is this has hand and this has all. That's the only difference. Now, this sounds or reads more like English because what the requirement says is give me the list of those employees that work in both tools and department. So it sounds like English. The more reason why you want to do something like where department equals tools and clothing. But if I run this first query, this returns zero records. So it means I can't find anywhere department equals tools and at the same time for one employee department equals clothing. I can't find anywhere. Okay, let's run this that says where department equals tools or department equals clothing. So let's run this and see what we have. I'm running the second query now. Let's run this and see what we have. Now we have 88 employees. So we have 88 employees working in tools and clothing. If I run for a second, let me run from um, I'll remove I'll remove this. So let me run this without the or. So that means where department equals tools. We have 39 rows. That is 39 employees working tools. If I scroll down, we have 39 records. Okay, so 39 work in tools. The moment I put this, so now I want to see those working in tools. So what the system is doing is to run your first filter first. So it's going to run this first filter, get the list of all employees in tools department. That's one, and that's going to be kept in memory. So it goes to the next filter and it's going to run this. So is when you use all, it means this, then this. Okay? So this is optional. If you find those working in tools, bring it out. If you also find those working in department, bring it out. That's why we have a result for this. So now if I run this, it's going to first check for those working in tools, keep them in memory, check for those working in clothing, and add them all together. That's the output we have. So let me run this again. Now we have 88. So 49 working in clothing, 39 working in tools. But when you say hand, you're saying, I want those employees working in tools at the same time working in clothing. This hand is making your filter compulsory. So it has to be tools at the same time. It has to be clothing in one row. That's not possible. Let me show you something quickly. Let's do a selector from employees. So I want to explain something that will help your understanding. You see, when I run this, I have 1000 records. So when you say select employee ID, first name, department from employees, where department equals tools. So the first thing that will happen, SQL runs row by row. So this query is going to come to the first row and say, okay, let me see if I have, then it's going to go to the department column because this is where you have your filter and say, okay, this is sports. So I'm not going to pick this. It goes to the next row, say, oh, this is tools. Okay, so I'm going to choose this. It goes to the next one. It says this is clothing. I'm going to choose this because the requirement says either tools or clothing. Both are qualified to be in this report. Okay, both departments are candidates of our requirement. So it's going to pick tools, go to clothing. Okay, I have clothing. It's going to bring clothing. Phones and tablet, no, it's going to skip this. Computers is going to skip computer. Sports is going to skip clothing. It's going to pick clothing. So like that, so it's going to run through all the 1000 rows that we have. So, but when you say hand, you are saying in one row, I want to see phones and tablets and maybe clothing in one row. So you can't see the two of them together, hand and tools together in one row. That's not possible. So it has to be all. So it's going to check the first row. Can I find tools? Yes, it picks it. The next row, can I find clothing? Yes, it picks it. There is nowhere in any row that you have tools and clothing together. Is you can only have one department in each of this row. Tools, sport. There's no way you can have tools and clothing all together. This is not here. We don't have it. So that's why when I run the hand, excuse me. So that's why when I run this, it returns nothing. It's not returning anything because it can't find where department is tools at the same time department is clothing. Or to say it in a better way, you can't find an employee that works in tools and at the same time works in clothing. But when I use or, now it can find an employee that works in tools and other employees that work in clothing. So when you use or, you are making your filter evaluation optional. So it's going to run this first for you, keep it in memory, and then it comes to this, keep it in memory. I know this might be a little bit confusing, but what I want you to do is think through these two queries. These are not the same. They are two different queries. What this is doing is making your filter optional. So he evaluates this first, he keeps those working in tools in memory, then it comes to this. So, but this reads more like English. But don't forget, SQL is not. Yes, it reads like English, it sounds like English, but is not English. It's SQL, structured query language, and that's why you're learning, so you can get to know the syntax that you need to use to meet a particular requirement. In upcoming tutorial, we're going to see more examples of this hand and how, and we're also going to see an example of using both in one SQL statement. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.